to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of Be Awesome. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.
Hello, Be Awesome listeners. This is episode 33 of the Be Awesome podcast, and we have broken into the Shoveltown Flag Company's barn for a really special podcast today in my hometown of Easton, Massachusetts. Thank you, Chris Mills, for not being home so we could sneak in here and pull this podcast off. I want to open up, first of all, one of the reasons for this podcast is last week there was a tragic, beyond tragic accident in New Hampshire with a motorcycle club, the Jarheads, that lost 7 of their members and friends in a motorcycle accident in New Hampshire. And, you know, last Sunday I just felt like there was something that could be done, and I felt that there could be a ripple effect to make a difference. And throughout 100% of 100 shirts, meaning 100% of up to 100 shirts, I was going to donate. Chris Mills from Shoveltown Flag Company donated a flag that we auctioned off on eBay that raised $620, and had a couple of people just randomly sent checks in saying that they wanted to contribute but didn't want a shirt and didn't want to bid on the flag. And by Friday of last week, we had a check for $3,000 for the Jarheads Motorcycle Club. If that doesn't say ripple effects make a difference, I don't know what does. And I'm just so thankful for the people that follow, support, buy the shirts, listen to the podcast, share the stories, share on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and do all that stuff. This is what it's all about. You know, I love to do public speaking, inspirational speaking. I am working on my book. I'm doing a whole bunch of things. But at the end of the day, being great humans is what this is all about. And today I'm really excited to have a special guest and a dear friend of mine who's done some really awesome stuff in our community, and I wanted him to share with me some of how to do this, because I've traveled around the country and talk about, we will call him Mr. P, what Mr. P has done with he and this small group of folks that comprise a private group in our town. And I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, wow, that'd be great if we had it in our community, or I can't believe that this is something that really happens. And I was on the fence because this is an anonymous group. This is meant to be an anonymous group for a number of reasons. They do it because they care. They don't do it for any credit, which you don't see very often anymore. And they don't do things out of any other reason besides knowing someone needs help. And that could be filling an oil tank, or building a handicap ramp, or putting a generator, or just money for parking because someone's sick and goes to the hospital. And what's even greater than this, and we'll get into the conversation, is a lot of these people we would never know need the help. Maybe they're too proud. Maybe they don't have much family or friends. We're really getting into the people that need help that otherwise wouldn't get it. And it has to be something pretty special. So, Mr. P, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
This is exciting. This is the first anonymous podcast. We got you a picture with the ski mask. If we could figure out how the Wi-Fi worked, then here we'd already have it up. But Chris has blocked us out and sounded the sirens. So let's talk about this. Let's start at the beginning. How did this all get started?
Well, I guess, and I couldn't tell you what year it was, but I want to say it was probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And we were out in the backyard, and there were probably 4 or 5 of us, and we were having a couple of libations. And my wife approached us, and she works with the public, she works with children, and she approached us and said that she had just become aware of a family. I think it was probably November. The weather was starting to drop, the temperatures were starting to drop, that was experiencing some financial issues, and they were trying to look for different things. One of the issues was that the oil tank was empty, and I'll never forget it because it was meaningful, and it was really what started everything. Without thinking, without anybody saying a word, one of the 4 or 5 people there took off their hat, and we all threw a $100 bill in, or 520s. Everyone threw in money. We handed it to my wife, and she went and made sure that the oil tank got filled. Well, when you see a group of grown men, some of them knuckleheads, myself included, it was really cool. The reaction, I don't know that it was pride, but it was a feel-good moment, and it was something that really kicked things off for us. And we said, geez, a couple weeks later, we were talking about it, and between myself and a couple others, we came up with the idea of starting an anonymous charity group. We became aware of a couple other situations in town that we knew that we could get involved in, get in and get out quietly, and help those people. And I don't know when, or it was shortly after that, probably after the holidays, I'm certain of that. We ended up calling it the Silver Dollar Club. And we gave it a name, and the four or five original members had to carry a silver dollar just to make it fun. So if you get caught at a bar by another Silver Dollar Club member and you didn't have your silver dollar with you, you get stuck with the bar tab. So it was just something to, have some fun. I was actually the first victim of it. We flew in from California. I didn't take my silver dollar with me. They knew I wouldn't have it with me because I left it on the bureau, and sure enough, I got stuck with the first tab. Probably a year or two of doing that, we had, just collecting money, and it started to grow to 10 people, to 15 people, to 20 people, all trusted friends, most of us lifelong friends, friendships of 40, 45 years, which was really, I'll tell you, that's something cool.
Yeah.
When you can say you've been friends with somebody and still in touch for 45 or 50 years, that means a lot. That's something I try to pass on to my boys. I'm trying to think what took place, after that. We really started getting interested at the holidays of helping some people, right? And so we would get more and more money, get closer to Thanksgiving, and we would try to help out some families at Christmas time, all local people, that sort of thing. And then I want to say probably 2 or 3 years into it, I got invited to a charity, and I didn't know what it was. It was a charity golf tournament, and we really didn't know what it was, but I said, sure, I'll go and participate and be a part of the team and that sort of thing. Well, it basically was a hospice group for pediatrics, for children. And I struggled with that. I had a real hard time. I ended up talking to a couple of the nurses at the event after the golf tournament. And, just got in conversation. I said to them, I have a group of friends that likes to help out. We're not going to give you blood. We're not going to give you drugs. We're not going to give you plasma. But when your nurses walk into the house, what are they walking into? What are they walking in with? And the answer was they were walking in with their medical bag. They were walking in with their pain medication, that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, it's pediatric hospice. Why can't you walk in with toys for that child? Let's try and get the stress out of it, that icebreaker and stuff like that. So what we started doing, and she agreed that but they didn't have a budget for it, that sort of thing. So I presented it to our now probably 15 people in the group, and we decided to do an annual pig roast in October every year. And all we asked for anybody to come with was a toy, an unwrapped toy for kids, for boys, for girls, for all the different ages. But when the people coming to our pig roast started realizing what was going on, you should have seen it take off. It was fascinating. We actually, in my backyard at one point, I think the largest one we ever had was probably over 300 people.
Wow.
And it was fantastic because the people really appreciated the opportunity to be able to be a part of that, right, which is kind of what made it exciting. So, and then I think as time went on, it grew and it grew, and we got as high as I think 45 members, and but we decided to shut it down at that because we wanted to keep it anonymous. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get sappy, but my aunt, Sister Patrick Francis, the Sisters of St. Joseph's, always taught me as a young boy that charity is anonymous. Real charity is anonymous. Right. And otherwise it's not real charity. And so we kind of keep that in mind, and it's grown into something special.
Yeah, and it has. I've watched you guys and been around it for a number of years, and now you do a Hungry Man, you do a couple other things. But let's get back to the members and the money, and because I bet a bunch of people are sitting here going, well, you guys are just a bunch of pocket heavy folks that want to throw your money around. You're not giving a lot of money individually every year. You're putting in a few bucks. I mean, a few bucks a month it equates to, right? $15, $20 a month. But collectively, that money adds up for you to be able to do some really good stuff for people.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So there's no huge heavy hitters in there that are just writing checks. That's not what we're doing. Yeah, do the members throw something in every year? We don't really call it dues,
Yeah.
we just, put it in there, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to do it. We try to collect it every year, and if members don't want to pay, then it's really not, it's not mandatory or anything like that.
Yeah.
We try to keep that cost down. So the pig roast, the annual pig roast went on and on and on for years and started to grow, and we still continue that today, and that's for that pediatric hospice group. And what we ended up doing, because it started to grow, as the membership grew, the requests grew for money, for situations. And so a couple of the members are very talented cooks.
Yep.
And so we put on what they call a 100 Hungry Man dinner. Now, I know probably in other parts of the country, or even around here, a lot of people don't know what that is. But basically, we sell 100 tickets for $100 a piece. And for that, you get a prime rib dinner, potato, salad, roll. And then you also, your ticket gets entered into a drawing. Mm-hmm. And so first place, I think, is $2,500, second place is $1,500, and third place is $1,000. That's what you get for your $100 ticket. What ends up happening, when people find out what we're doing and where the money's going, they typically donate it back.
Right.
So all like-minded people that once they realize what's going on and some of the things that we've done in the past, it's kind of cool because they typically, not always, and we don't expect them to, they won that money, but it's a raffle type of thing, and we do that. So that's a lot of fun. We actually sell out every year. People are asking for the tickets because they know what it's about, and it's a nice night of camaraderie.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a couple hours out. It's the running through the numbers is always entertaining, and then the side action of who's going to be the guy at the table, which table that's going to be the last man standing. And you're right, being to the number of these events, it's, I always look at these things and I sit here and say, well, if I won, and I say sometimes, what if I won, what would I do? And with an event like this, it's like, it's a no-brainer. You give it back, and it's because nobody's taking any money. No one's taking any payroll. There's everything is given, and you guys give more than most, and it's to make a difference. And hearing some of the things that you guys do and have done over the past, it's not just toys. Like you say, you filled an oil tank. This is kind of the play-by-play too, to give people an understanding, because I'm sure you've talked to people in other areas that you probably share some of this at some capacity, and they go, wow, can I be a part of this? And you go, well, it's for people, because it's all people in our town that are members. And so, and I think you even said before we started here, it was like, you tell people, you can start one in your town. It's easy. Just get some like-minded people together, throw in a few bucks, start to figure out who needs some help that may not be getting it, and go after it.
I was approached by a dear friend of mine from a neighboring town, and he asked, he said, Jesus, I really want to be a part of that. And I kind of thought about it, and it's a grassroots, hometown, small town type of thing, and I didn't really want to spoil that. I didn't want to disrespect him, because he also comes from a similar town, a small town, and he's civic-minded, and he likes to give back. So I encouraged him to start his own group.
Yeah.
I said, this is what I did. Just try it. Just give it a shot, And he's done that. He hasn't realized as much success as we've had with it and the longevity, but I know if he keeps plugging away at it, it's going to be just fine. He did relate to me, the past holiday season was just amazing. He said it really changed the way he thought about things and how fortunate he was, and he passes it on to his kids, as I've done. My expectation for both of my boys, who are young adults now, is that they'll take this over. Yeah. That generation will take that over. Yeah. And I got to expect, knowing you and your family the way I do, your children will do that.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the hope anyway.
Yeah, but I think we talked a little bit about this, but I know you talk about this around the country, and people ask you about it and stuff like that. It's really not hard. If you get a group of 10 or 15 people,
right,
get together, throw a couple $100 in each. Right?
Yep.
And when you become aware of that elderly woman down the street in the holidays in the area, and she can't get the oil in, or she's choosing between prescriptions and that sort of thing, I think the difference with our group is, and I got to be careful here, but we have a doctor in our group, we have a lawyer in our group, we have some cops in our group, we have some firemen in our groups. We have some people in education, in the local education, school systems. And we have some DPW guys. We have heavy equipment operators. We have mechanics. But because of the type of town that we come from, and maybe from some of those backgrounds, we're in a position to hear about some sad stories. We're in a position to realize that some families experiencing trouble or something like that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a second with regards to hearing some sad stories, because, you know, today with social media, I get on the social media soapbox and how ridiculous I think the majority of social media can be. The importance of knowing who it is that you're helping is of little relevance. Like the name, the address, whatever. Your people come into your meeting and say, we have a person who's going through ... and they need help. And then you guys have a discussion of what it is you think is needed, and then come to a vote as to what you
How
provide.
can we give them some relief? And thanks for bringing that up, because never do we ask, well, who are they friends with? What church do they go to?
Right.
Where did they grow up? That doesn't enter into it. That's meaningless to us. All of that. We're not interested in any of that. Their background, what happened, or why it happened. It doesn't matter to us. Even people that in a nice community like ours, they seem like they're doing okay.
Yep.
But then when tragedy strikes, that's when we like to get in there and see if we can do something. Would they get by without us? Certainly. But sometimes, if not always, I hope that we're relieving some of their stress. We, very common for us, almost monthly now, is unfortunately every family's been touched by cancer, let's say.
Yeah.
The expense of going in and out of Boston, because now you got to park, you got to drive in and out of Boston, you got to feed the family, right? You're going to eat at a restaurant in Boston, that sort of thing. What we like to do typically, as soon as we hear about something like that, we'll get probably 5, 6, $100 Visa gift cards over to the family in an envelope. It's not marked, it's nothing.
Yep.
It's just, here, use this for food, gas, and parking. I hope it helps.
Yeah.
Now, that family probably could get by, but you know what? It's just one less stress in their life. It's just one less thing for them to worry about. And when you see a group of grown men, I've only seen them get emotional once or twice, but when you see the joy in their face that they did that, it's really cool. It's a lot of fun. Another great example was, we come from a very nice community, you and I, right? I think that this town it's a wonderful town. There was a girl that was in Children's Hospital, and she wasn't able to attend classes. And the school department did not have it in their budget to buy a $6,000 robot that attends classes for her, and it generates the image and the voices and the entire class back to her at the hospital. It's a 2-part system. And it's literally a robot that goes classroom to classroom for her.
So it's like she's there.
It's like she's there. Now, unbeknownst to any of us, we didn't know that it was common in hospitals. But one of our spouses brought it to us and said, this girl's going to in danger of staying back. Academically, she could do this if she had access to one of these. And it was funny because it was a large donation. It was a lot of money. And not one person hesitated. I think it was over $6,000. Not one person hesitated and said, we got to get this to this girl. And she did, and she's actually still with us today, and she's thriving. The better part of that is that investment has now, I think it's on its 4th student. That has been forced into a hospital setting and in danger of staying back. And that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
It's very, very cool.
That, the thing that really is amazing to me, again, going back to social media, going back to GoFundMe, going back to humble bragging, going back to all the things that people do to find an organization, a group that does things to do it because it's the right thing and that's it. There's got to be a huge amount of trust, right? There's got to be, you guys come into a meeting and someone says, here we have this girl that wants a $6,000, robot. Here we go. For the whole transaction, for everything to go the way that it does, there's got to be an incredible amount of trust and belief in each other, and that's got to be a great feeling in itself. Because today, most people, and I challenge people listening, think about how many people you could walk into a room with and say, I need something of importance, and don't give them much detail, just that you need it. And how many people in your life do you have that would go, I'm on board. Let's make this happen. Let's figure it out. That's got to be a pretty good feeling in itself, just to have that group of people in your life that once a month you get together with, that, someone's going to bring something to the table. Someone's going to bring something up that's going to need addressing. And there's a very high likelihood, as close to 100% as you can get, that good reason, good purpose, and good interest in helping is needed. And you have to just kind of say, you can ask questions, but yeah, hey, let's do this. Let's help this person.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times when you talk about that, a lot of times I've seen members come in and say, hey, listen, this family just experienced this. Nobody knows who they are. We don't really identify names or anything like that. And he'll say, well, what do you need? And so, well, can we get him $500, gift cards just to get him through the week for groceries or something? And what's funny is, if you're asking for $5, it usually turns into $1,000 or $1,500.
Right.
The members, they get excited. They're like, oh, that might not be enough. Give them this.
Yeah.
And
or come back and check up, make sure.
And you've seen that many times. Here's the $500. Please get back to us immediately if you find something else out.
Right.
Somebody said, you've said, and I've heard from others that, wow, what a wonderful thing that you guys do. Mm-hmm. And again, I know this is going to sound corny as hell or sappy, and I'm going to get some grief from one person on it, but the feeling we get from it, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost selfish that everyone feels so good about it. I've seen grown men, 55-year-old men, cops, firemen, lawyers, walk out of a room high-fiving each other because they were able to impact that family. They were able to do that. We've bought, like I said, we have access to the education system. You can see in September that there's one family coming in and their clothes are it's just not right.
Yeah.
And as soon as that's mentioned, you get this group of grown men that understand that maybe this 13-year-old girl needs to have better clothes and outfits because it involves her pride and her self-esteem and how she's received at the public school system or something like that. And immediately, $1,000 is on the table to buy her clothes.
Yeah.
And then you see a group of grown men high-fiving each other. You wouldn't think that would happen.
Yeah.
But it does. It does.
Yeah. That's and the fact that there's nothing to it, and I've seen in a couple of occasions, that people want to do something like that and make it fanfare. Like, hey, let's do a newspaper. Let's take these kids back to school shopping and have the newspaper there and do a report. You guys are just saying, hey, here, go. Be a kid that gets to experience having new clothes or having an opportunity or providing. I think there was one story I think I'd heard about years ago with a kid that was displaced, living with the grandparents, and wanted to get, and all that child wanted was for the grandparents to have Christmas presents.
Yeah.
Like that was I mean, tell me now, that's probably one of those times that you cried because you're sitting here saying, hey, we want to give you something for Christmas. Right. And all this kid wants to give is his grandparents.
Want to make sure that they had a nice
Made sure
Christmas
that they had a nice
that
Christmas.
they were taking care of them. And actually, so it worked out really well because they all had a nice Christmas. Mm-hmm. And like I said, if that doesn't give you goosebumps, I don't know what to tell you. I'll be honest with you. I was very reluctant to do this with you.
Yep.
I have a great deal of respect for you. I think you and your family are just amazing. I was concerned. I was very concerned about the anonymity of our group. I was very concerned. We've never taken credit for anything. Matter of fact, our largest donation did get some public attention, and they wanted it to go to the local newspaper, and we said absolutely not. And then we had another a legit charity group in town. We had them go do it. Here, you guys donate it. We're going to give it to you. You guys donate it. You guys take the credit. We'll help your roles and everything like that. And that's we go to that extent. We don't want. So again, I was reluctant to do this.
Yeah.
And I have some reluctance. You convinced me when you said, well, other people may do this. If they hear about this, other people may do this in similar towns around the country because I know how much you travel. Yeah. And you're not shy. You certainly like to talk to everybody. Yeah. And so if this accomplishes that, I'll be okay with it. Yeah. But if I'm breaking our trust or our anonymity, I'll be upset.
Yeah. Well, I made you wear that stupid ski mask. Yeah. So I made you wear that stupid ski mask, and at no point will I share names of members or specifics of anything, and I appreciate that. And truth be told, I've wanted to do this for upwards of a year. I experienced something about a year ago traveling where I was in a community that there was a family that was really in need, and the people were lost. The residents were lost as to what to do, and some of the residents were even hesitant to give.
Yeah.
Because they were like, well, what is my $10 or $20? What's that really going to do?
Yeah.
And so I started talking to them about you guys, and I was like, there's this great group in Easton, and they do phenomenal stuff, and it's just a group of guys that get together once a month and put a few bucks together, and they're doing amazing things. And then as I started talking to people throughout the last year, it's like nobody does this. And I think every community should have this. Like every community should have a Silver Dollar Club.
Yeah.
And they should have a group of like-minded individuals that want to make a difference just for the fact of making a difference, giving someone an opportunity, giving someone that ability maybe. Because I think I heard a story once that you guys spent a weekend. I think you built a handicap ramp or did something to help someone's house because they were in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And you gave them that freedom of being able to come home opposed to having to stay in some rehab center because they didn't have a handicap accessible home. People don't typically do that to do it. They do it for some other purpose, or they don't do anything and they stand on the sidelines and they say, well, I wish I could have done something. Yeah. And the reality is we can all do something. Okay. And I think that, if one group in the country or one person listens to this and they go, you know what, if Mr. P and his guys can do this, I think we can. And let me put together a few people and let me put together a fundraiser and let's do this quietly. And you know what? The feeling that we're going to get is going to be so much greater than any newspaper article or Facebook post or anything else. The feeling that we're going to get when we get together, when we make that difference in that person's life, and we know we did it. Like, that's got to be pretty cool, going around and you know that you're doing these things and nobody else knows. Like, right. You're just like, you probably go to places and people talk about the stuff and you're just sitting there going, yeah. And the reality is, you guys kind of shepherded the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'm a townie. I've lived here my whole life. I'm coming up on 57 years old. And probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was approached by one of the town officials, actually, and said, hey, listen, you know a lot about what's going on in town. They said, we're hearing about some charity group that's anonymous, and they want to stay anonymous. And but we have this thing where we know somebody needs some help and we don't know how to contact them. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I said, geez, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never heard of that group. And I'm kind of laughing on the inside, but it actually made it more fun.
Yeah. I'll make a few phone calls for you. See what
And I said, why don't you give me the information and I'll see if I can find out who they are. And if I find them, I'll pass that information on to them. That's a ton of fun. I'm walking away snickering, having a blast with that. And that's fun. For us, that's fun. We really do like it. A lot of times, like I said, we go to great lengths just to drop it off, and people are like, well, who can I write? Who can I call? Yeah. Nobody. Here you go. See you later.
Yeah.
Have a good time. And if you need something else, we'll be in touch. A lot of fun.
Yeah. It's amazing. It just talking about this, it just is, when you think about it, and you think about today and how difficult it is, and you touched on this a little bit ago, which was the requests or the needs is increasing. Yeah. And it's something that a big part of what Be Awesome is about with the shirts and with what we're doing with the Jarheads and all of this is just in the last year since I started Be Awesome, the need for people to get help has not gone down. It's not going to. It's getting harder to live. It's getting harder to have your basic needs. Never mind if you have, needs that are due to health reasons. Whether you need to have this, specially equipped home or a specially equipped car or some other thing. Sure. And it just seems to increase. And I think that the need to have people to step up and genuine good, And I'm not citing GoFundMe, and I'm not citing these sources, but I mean, we see it all the time, right? It's going to get worse with programs like that, with more stories that we hear, like the homeless guy that supposedly gave his last $20 to that girl, and the girl in and the boyfriend or husband in New Jersey that they raised almost $500,000 and kept the money and went gambling and did all this stuff. Like, we really need to get back to community. We really need to get back to looking out for our neighbors.
Yep.
Absolutely take care of everything globally and try to help as much as we can. But we really need to get a handle on what's next door to us and how do we help them and how do we raise everybody up. And we can only do it with groups like you guys. And my belief is like that's huge.
Well, I like to think it's small town America. Somebody's going to roll their eyes when I say this.
Yeah.
And I touched on it before. I'm telling you, we get more out of it than we give.
Yeah.
When you see a group of grown men acting like they do, I've actually seen them weep at a couple of the real hard cases. I've seen some of the grown men actually weep at what they do, but they walk out and knowing they did the right thing. A lot of fun, and it's not work.
Yeah.
For anybody that's out there listening, and if you're considering this, it's not work, it's joy. I mean, people will get upset if we have to cancel a meeting or we don't get together. And mind you, some meetings we don't do anything. Some meetings we just sit around and have a couple of beers.
Yeah.
Because nobody's got any requests. Everything seems to be good. We're not aware of any situations, and we've gone as 2-3 months sometimes without a request.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. But it's cool. It's really a lot of fun.
So let's do a couple minutes here to blueprint a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say someone wants to start something like this. First of all, from what you're saying and what I'm gathering, and just correct, I'm going to kind of give my best way of how I would see it, and you just kind of add to it or think about it. If you want to start this, typically with efforts and initiatives, it's always reactionary, right? Something's happened, and now we got to rush to raise and do this. So, maybe if something's happening and you get some folks together, realize that you can do more outside of that and start to be proactive opposed to reactive. So you want to start this group with the idea that you're not just going to get money for that one case. You're going to start to pool up money so that you're prepared for when something comes to you down the road.
Yep.
So building that idea of, hey, this is something long term. Mm-hmm. We're not going to just, get together, put some money in a hat, and then be done with it. This is long term. Finding long term people that are like-minded that are going to say, we're in this for the long haul. Every year we're going to throw in what we can. Might be $50, might be $200, whatever, until you can kind of form any sort of, I don't want to say guides, but any sort of kind of ideas of what it should be. Mm-hmm. Should there be you should have some organization at some level. You say it's not hard. How should the organization, or how would you say an organization should be set? I mean, you definitely need to have some leadership representing how a meeting goes, someone, a moderator or something. How do you?
So I guess I was always the de facto leader. I don't want to say that I started this, but it was at my house, and I just happened to be there, and things took off, and then I wanted to get involved more for the holidays. So the same people that donated that initial night to help that woman with the oil, I kind of reached out again. I said, hey guys, we know that these people could use help during the holidays, and they didn't hesitate one bit. How much you want? Mm-hmm. That's exactly how much you want. I said, I don't know. Let's do $100 a piece. There's another $500. We can do this for Christmas. We can do this. We can do that. I can't say exactly how we became somewhat organized. My wife refers to us as a group of mental giants, and she can't believe it's still going.
Positive reinforcement. That's what keeps you going.
Right there. Yeah. But eventually what happened was, I got the term of being president of this group, or something, for lack of a better term, and so that we did have someone had to say this is when we were going to meet. Yeah. Someone had to say what time we were going to meet, and then someone had to have some sort of an agenda. Now, You've been there. The agenda is incredibly loose. Mm-hmm. We try and start, at 7 o'clock once a month. We usually start around 7:30 because we got to get people away from the bar. Yeah. And some meetings have taken 5 minutes, and some meetings have taken over an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. Most of them, for the most part, they're not serious meetings at all. I don't want this to become something. I don't want it to become a structured 501c3 corporate where we need lawyers and account. I don't want that. I'm not interested in that.
Well, it takes your ability to do all the things that you do away.
Exactly.
I mean,
because now you're doing, a vote is basically, hey, this person needs this. What do you think?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, well, just give it to them. It's not an aye or nays or any of this stuff. And I guess that's what separates us from other clubs and other organizations.
Yeah.
It's very, very informal. And I think if you can keep it that way, then you're better off. I really do.
Yeah, I think that just intrigues me with, and just the way that I am in life is, take action.
Yeah.
Like,
just do it.
Just do it. Like,
and have fun doing it.
Doing something is always better than doing nothing.
Right.
And so, being able to take action, don't have a meeting to have a meeting to discuss about a meeting for the meeting that you just had. And you guys are able to just take that action. And so, the idea too is, I would say that the 40, 45 members, between all of them, they probably, this is a 25,000 resident community. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing how far that reach of 45 members is, how they can kind of tap into almost the whole community. Because it's a very, all the members are active at one level or another, right?
Oh,
so they're,
absolutely.
there's members that are saying they're able to find or hear about because of whatever.
Yep.
What's going on, and there might be members that are resourceful that can help, get lumber or get whatever is needed. So, was that just luck?
It's luck. I think a lot of it came from, this is a different kind of charitable organization, right? If you look at, we have 4, which is a very formal 501c3 with a board of directors. Mm-hmm. You have the Lions Club.
Yep.
You have the Knights of Columbus, right? Mm-hmm. These are all very formal settings with very formal rules. We just like to refer to ourselves, and you've probably heard us, just a group of guys that like to have a couple of beers and jump in when they can, anonymously. I think if we changed or if we did anything different, we became a Lions Club or a 4 or something like that, we would lose that anonymity. We would never have that. And that's what I think keeps half the members there.
Yeah.
The fact that they're sneaking in, helping fix something or relieving some family stress and getting out quietly, it's fun. It's a lot of fun for them. So as far as structure and stuff like that,
keep it loose.
Keep it loose. So I was with the CEO of one of the largest companies in the world. I happen to have the privilege of being with him several times. And we got to talking about this. And he suggested to me, he said, well, here's a phone number. I want you to call my administrative secretary and I'll donate to your club. And I said, you don't understand. That's not how we work. At that time, we had a bag full of money. We literally had a paper bag full of $100 bills. That's what we like to do. Mm-hmm. And people shake their head and are like, but you could be this. You're right, we could be, but we don't want to be.
Right.
We don't want to be the Lions Club. We don't want to be the Knights of Columbus. We don't want to be that group. Mm-hmm. We want to remain quiet. We want to remain anonymous. And we just want to get in and get out. Mm-hmm. And I think if we changed anything, including the structure of anything, I think we would lose that and it would dissolve immediately.
Yeah, I see a lot of these groups that are more formal losing. They're having a hard time with membership.
And they do great work.
They do phenomenal work.
Great work.
Yes, they're having challenges getting people to commit to members, to becoming and getting to be members, because probably a lot of the formal requirements and things. Running it loose might be something for that person that I've had. Lee Avery Williams has been calling me for 15 years, and he's called, I think, every person in Easton to join the Lions Club. Yep. And every single, and he's always been just phenomenal with me and understanding. He's like, hey, how's it looking for next month? And I'm like, what's the date? And every time he tells me the date, I'm traveling, which is like all the time. I would love to be a part of the Lions Club. I watch the Lions Club auction every year. I buy the most ridiculous thing. I had a sailboat in my yard 2 years ago. I got a Tom Brady cutout wood thing. I got a wooden cannon in my island. I buy the most ridiculous things in the auction. I'd love to be the auctioneer for that, but I just don't have the time to commit to it, and I don't have the ability to. But I want to be involved in something. Sure. So this could be something that's really great for someone or some group of people in Oklahoma or Montana or California that's saying, yeah, I can't be a part of group whatever.
Yeah, with work parties.
With all this other stuff.
Work parties and expectations.
I want to just be involved in something to do it. So finding those people that want to do it. Well, we're probably coming close on time. You got to roll. I really appreciate you giving me your time here. Chris will know that I appreciate him kind of allowing me to break into. This is nice. It's quiet. It's peaceful. We should open up the garage doors for a little bit and see how many people stop in. For those of
the
you,
corporate office of Shoveltown Flag
yeah, well,
Company.
for those of you that didn't listen to episode, I think it was 12 or 13, but Chris Mills Construction. He's also a firefighter paramedic. He's a great friend, and he started this company, Shoveltown Flag Company, and he's been a huge supporter of Be Awesome. Makes these rustic. I don't want to use the word rustic. They reclaimed wood flags. I'm not sure if rustic's the right word, but the wood's, some of the wood's 150 plus years old, unbelievably talented. And I knew he wasn't going to be home, so Mr. P and I raided the garage, and we're sitting in here because the sound actually was pretty good on the
You can go on to
podcast.
Shoveltown Flag Company and see those flags.
Yeah, you can go Shoveltown Flag It was at shoveltownflag.com, and you can see the flags, buy the flags. He's got some new designs, and his wall's looking pretty empty, which means that sales are up.
Yes.
So,
well, I think he donates more than he sells. If I know him, he donates more than he sells. He's never said no to any group.
Yeah, no, he is one of the most selfless people, and some of my podcasts recently, sharing more selflessness opposed to selfish, and talking to people, and I can't thank you enough. I know how hard this was for you to say, I'm willing to talk about this, but how do I do it without spilling the beans, sharing the word? And I'm sure there's probably going to be one or two folks, because I know I have at least 3 listeners. My fiance, my mom, and my grandmother, if she's listening, when my mom's listening, from in our town that listen to the podcast. But I'm sure a few folks might recognize your voice and know who you are. But the rest of the members, rest assured, no member names in anonymity is staying good over here. But really appreciate you doing this. I think it's going to make a difference. And like you said, if we can get one more group like this in the country to just start to take care of their neighbors for no other reason other than to take care of them, then this was well worth it. And hopefully your membership is not upset with the decision that you made to do this. So, but really appreciate you, and keep up the great work. I really
well, and to you as well.
Yeah.
All the things that you get involved with and help out with, and
yeah,
to you as well.
I appreciate it. I can't do this stuff without great friends like you and Chris and others that are behind me. This whole journey has just been kind of a whirlwind, but it's great not to have jerks in my life anymore at all. Because when you wear an awesome shirt, jerks just walk away from you. That's the beauty of it. That's going to be my shameless plug for shirts. I'm going to make an announcement here, hopefully in the next week or so. I really apologize to the organization that has been absolutely phenomenal to work with the last month or so. We're going to make a really exciting announcement, hopefully here in the next week, of the next support that we're going to be doing for our shirts. So that's the alarm going off. So Chris is actually watching us.
We legitimately did break it.
Yeah, we're having the podcast here. Can you hear us? This is great. Yeah. So that's Chris. Yeah. Hi. Just wrapping up the podcast in your garage. Hope you don't mind. Yeah. There we go. Sorry about that. So our shirts. When you buy a shirt, 3 things happen. 1, people around you, they're being reminded to be awesome. When you look in the mirror, you're reminded to be awesome. And the third thing is every single shirt has a minimum of $3 that's going to go to charity, and it's going to support homeless and foster kids in the United States, which is 3 million of them today. And we're going to be expanding our support. We've supported with some sensory paths for kids with autism in elementary schools. And we're going to be donating shirt funds, and I'm going to try to increase that in the next couple of months, based on what we're doing, and expanding who we're supporting. That's going to be really exciting. So hopefully, if you want a shirt, we've got Be Awesome shirts. We've got a handful of the Super Awesome Special Edition shirts. You go online. It's beausm.com. You can email me, Josh at Be Awesome. Let me know how I'm doing. As always, do a review. Do a rating. You got to do both on iTunes. That's what gets my exposure up. That's what gets my listeners up. That's what gets me up in the podcast rankings. I want to get up there with Joe Rogan. I got a ways to go. I think I'm at around 28,000, and he's number 1. So but that still puts me in the top 5% of podcasts with over 700,000 out there. So without you guys doing that stuff, I would be probably at 700,000. So can't thank the 37 folks that have taken the time to do a rating and review. You do one, send me an email. I send you a shirt, send you a coffee mug, send you a hat, send you whatever item of Be Awesome you want. Really appreciate the followers on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. You know, the way we've been going with this has just been phenomenal. And I can honestly say I've had absolutely zero negative feedback, even with some challenging podcasts. The Colonel Athens podcast that had a lot of wind in the background, I stalked him with a couple of the other podcasts with some sound. We're actually modifying and changing that. But we are going to make those podcasts a little bit easier to listen to. We're going to make them even better moving forward. Have to say thanks to my friend Chris Martinetti for being open and honest with me and doing it in a nice way. So we're fixing all of that, and it's because of him. So in the meantime, I'm going to be doing a podcast later this week on the 1 year and thank you and everything else. And remember, in order to do awesome, you got to be awesome. Have a great day.